In this video, learn how to use technical analysis signals that can lead to large stock trading gains. Hi, I'm Mike Bellafiore, co-founder of SME Capital, and we're a proprietary trading firm located in Midtown Manhattan. And I'm also the author of the trading classic, One Good Trade and the Playbook. Click our subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos that we're producing for you in the trading community. In this video, two junior firm traders break down in step-by-step detail their trading in an electric vehicle stock using key technical analysis catalysts. Let's get to work on sharing these important trading lessons so you can grow your trading account.
So we're going to be going over a opening drive playbook from a couple weeks ago in NIO Incorporated when Tesla was really running, and this was kind of a sympathy to that. So Sam will get us kicked off with the strategy.
Yeah, so this is the kind of the ideal criteria for a bullish opening drive. Like most trades, we want to see that the stock's in play. So especially for an opening drive, we want to see R vol greater than 2 at a minimum. And then some of the best candidates that I've seen for opening drive plays is when it gaps above a strong level. So ideally kind of like a long-term level, a previous high. In this case for NIO, it was a gap above yesterday's high. And it had a 6.5% gap, which is very strong, I would say. And then also, I like to see some strong pre-market levels to risk off of. And then it's really nice when you can pair these pre-market levels with kind of a psychological level. So in this case, it was 14 for NIO. So that's kind of your line in the sand. And then, yeah, like I said, a breakout above pre-market high and then a strong hold above that level with volume. And then some other things you can look at is the some like similar basket names. So for this stock, it was within like the EV, all the electric.
So Sam,
Yeah.
why is it important for you for it to be above an after hours high or pre-market high?
So that's kind of the point where it shows where sellers, I would say, are either out of the money or sellers are going to give up. So if it can clear the pre-market high, if it can clear the previous highs, sellers are kind of underwater. And then it's really good chance that they're going to start puking out their shares, and then we're going to see a pretty strong reaction at that level.
Yeah, very important principle that you bring up here, which is we want to find things technically that are above resistance levels outside of the range. We want things outside of the range. Technically, that's better for us. So we either want things outside the range to the downside if we want to short, or outside the range to the upside if we want to get long. And so we also want to obviously look at our daily charts. We want to take a look at our medium-term charts. But for a short-term technical indicator, when we have something that's outside of its short-term range, that's very positive because there aren't as many people that can get in the way if that is the case. There's going to be more people who see that the stock is more likely to move in a certain direction. So excellent to point out that particular variable for something you want to look at.
I'd also like to add another prime example of finding an opening drive trade above those levels and just something gapping to all-time highs. This can lead to some of the best opening drive trades because off the open, there's not always designated risk levels for people to trade off of, so it can lead to some really outsized moves while the price levels are still developing on the tape. So all-time high gappers are one of the best examples of just finding something, holding.
100% Matt. And again, an example of something outside its range, right? This is something that doesn't have any overhead resistance. People looking at the chart are going to want to buy. People who are short are going to want to cover. People who are looking are saying this is bullish. It's not something that's debatable. It's outside the range. We're going to need to find a new ceiling. We're going to need to find new resistance if that is the case. So again, good to be looking for those scenarios.
And then, yeah, so lastly, just have some of the other EV names just pulled up to make sure they're kind of following your move. So if you're looking for an opening drive, you ideally want to see Tesla open stronger, because that's kind of the biggest market name within the EV field. And then lastly, speed, I would say probably most importantly. So just like the nature of this trade for an opening drive, you want this to be really fast. You want to see lack of selling pressure on the open. Otherwise, your overall thesis is wrong. If, let's say, it has a strong open, gets above pre-market high, but then instantly fails, that's a different setup I look for. It's like a failed breakout of the pre-market high. So for this, you want it to be really fast. You want to see strength, and then you want to see continued buying once it passes the pre-market high, or let's say a previous high or yesterday's high. And then when I'm looking for entries on this setup, like I was saying, speed and then initial strength on the open. And then a really good opportunity to get long is if there's a low volume pullback to that pre-market high level, and then you see bids start to stack. There might be a little fight on the tape, but if bids stack and then you see the offers start to give out, that's a great place to add your tier 1 entry. And then tier 2 could be a
Hey Sam, when you say you want to see bids stack, what does that mean?
yeah, so I want to see all the different kind of markets like ARCA, NYC, all of those. I want to see around at least like 10 or so size with like multiple market centers stacking up. And then also I want to see a little bit of a fight with the offers. I want to see the offers stack, but then start to see the offers decrementing and then ultimately lifting for a continued move. And then during that, it's kind of you're looking for a really light volume on that pullback. So it's not true selling pressure. It's more just profit taking.
If you want to learn 3 real-world setups that our traders use, including the simple setup that we teach all of our new traders and the setup that turned one of our traders into a 7-figure big money earner, check out the free webinar that we're currently running. Just go ahead and click the link that should be appearing right now at the top right-hand corner of your screen. That's going to open up this free registration page in the new window, so don't worry, you're not going to lose this video. You're going to learn more in a couple of hours from this trading workshop than from years of online education.
Yeah, so tier 2 would be the break above pre-market high for confirmation. And then your risk on this is that held bid that you're watching. In this case, there's a held bid at 14 on NEO. So if 14 drops, that's your first sign to hit out. And then also a failure for the a hold above the pre-market high. So this is SPY intraday. So like I was saying with the EV vehicles, that you want to see strong strength on the open. You also want to just see that in the overall market to support your idea. So you can see, I don't have yesterday's chart on here, but there's a big imbalance and it got hammered into the close. But then right in the after hours, it started to hold up and consolidating. And then in the pre-market, you can see that it was pretty strong, was opening higher, and then on the open, it had a little flush, and then just super strong. Blew past pre-market high, cleared yesterday's swing high, and just didn't really look back. So that's another good check in your favor when you're taking an opening drive play, that you see the markets following along with the stock that you're trading. And so this is VIX. This is another check in your favor. You can see when SPY was selling off into the close the previous day, volatility spiked, but then in the after hours and pre-market, it started to dry up. And then on the open, you just see an instant flush of the VIX. And then you see it fading throughout the day into the afternoon. So that's a pretty good sign that if you're long, you can, it's a good trade to hold for the meanwhile.
Well, look, we've talked about this, which is I like that you guys are recording what volatility is for your playbooks, because that's going to matter. So with volatility is 15, that matters relative to if it's 30. And I appreciate you pointing that out. I do just want to make the point, I'm sure you know this, but maybe some other people don't, which is that isn't going to be as significant when we're taking a look at NEO. NEO is going to move because the EV space is pretty hot. Whether the overall market is volatile or not, the EV space is hot, and it'll move pretty good. Having said that, though, maybe it'll move a little bit more if volatility is a little bit higher. But I do think comparatively, for instance, if we were trading AMD, if this was a discussion about an AMD breakout like we actually had recently, volatility would be more significant. If this was a conversation about how SPY broke out recently, volatility would be more significant. So good to be pointing that out, and then good to be comparing it relative to the trade we're making.
Yeah, perfect. With NEO not really being a market name, I don't put too much emphasis, but it's just always nice to see that if you're long, it's just great to see volatility fading throughout the day. It just adds a little more
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
confirmation, safety to the trade. Yeah, and then this is just kind of a quick comparison. So I usually have, if I'm trading any of these EV names, I'll just have Tesla pulled up. So for the opening drive play, you can see pretty somewhat similar patterns. We saw NEO had a really strong pre-market off of some news. And then we see the really key thing I want to point out here is you can see in pre-market it gapped above yesterday's high, and then that also correlated with the pre-market low. So you can see buyers stepped in and were protecting that. So everyone who was short yesterday is underwater, and as long as that yesterday's high and that pre-market low is held, I have a pretty strong bias coming into the open.
I think that's an underrated best practice, which you just did right there, which is trading NEO. The EV space is hot. Tesla's the lead dog in this particular space. And I want to know, as I'm trading NEO, what Tesla's doing. I want to know almost, minute by minute, depending on the trade that you're making, tick by tick, minute by minute, 5 minutes by 5 minutes, what Tesla's doing when I'm trading NEO. And I'm going to use that as information, and I'm going to watch to see how NEO is reacting when Tesla is going up or down, while Tesla is strong or weak, while Tesla is above VWAP or below VWAP. And I'm going to be comparing how the two trade with each other or not when I'm in this particular trade. And what I really like what you did is you literally have them next to each other. You have them next to each other on your screen, so it's easy to see how one is trading in relation to the other.
So you can see by this graph, it gave you some really good indications on the entry and the exits. So you can see on the open, NEO is very strong as well as Tesla. They both gapped and opened above their yesterday's swing high. They both cleared the pre-market high. So those are some pretty good indications, good confirmation. But then for the exits, this was really interesting. So you can see this is right around kind of 940-ish. You can see NEO is making a lower high. If you look at volume down there, it kind of had a blow off top on the volume, and then volume was fading on that up move. And then this was also when Tesla was making low of day. So when you see NEO making a lower high on very low volume in comparison to the open, and then you see Tesla has already broken down and is making low of day, that should be a great indication to either get flat or cut 75% or so of your position. If you want, you can hold 25% and just risk the that swing low at 1480. But I mean, at that point, you should really be considering getting flat when the other EVs are making fresh lows and price is failing to make a higher high.
And then the reason why NEO was in play was because in July 2nd, it reported earnings and deliveries grew 190% year over year in quarter two to 10,331 vehicles, exceeding their quarterly guidance. And after releasing their earnings, they were up 6.2%, and they've been continuing to grind up. And just as Sam said, this is kind of a market sympathy play as EV names have been in play, and a lot of attention with Tesla has been beating earnings and making all-time highs, giving people more reason and conviction to get involved in NEO. And on the next slide, you'll see that there's much more contribution from traders on Robinhood platform. And during this day, there's elevated RVOL and just, again, Robinhood ownership. So the pinkish purple chart represents NEO's stock price, and the green chart represents the number of holdings off of Robinhood. And you can see that in June, on Robinhood, people started accumulating NEO and started holding it longer and longer and buying it. And that was just when it was breaking out. The intraday fundamentals, the RVOL on the day was 4.8. The average volume was 450K, over 450,000, and the ATR was $1.08. Short flow was 15%, and institutional ownership was 37%. For the long-term chart, you'll see that before June, NEO was range-bound below $5, and it has just been accumulating. And anyone who's, something to note, anyone who's still long, that got long before $5 breakout is deep in the money.
So this is the pre-market technicals. So we have our levels from the previous day where we saw it trading in this range. Like we said, gapping up over that level the next day and holding in this new range from like 1420-ish to 1380. So watching how it holds in this range pre-market is interesting, especially when we can see we're holding towards the top of this range off the open, most likely indicating a little bit more strength. As you can see, we tested lower in the range and then had a breakout, but even when we pulled back, we still held higher this time. So definitely an indication of maybe more buying off the open.
Interesting how that 1380 level holds really nicely in the pre-market.
It is, yeah, and that was something I noticed from just actually watching the tape in the pre-market, because you could just see it came back to that level to the price exactly, and then it would slow there, there'd be some buying, always like a little bounce each time. So yeah, it was definitely a really interesting level to use as like a risk for a long as well, knowing there's lots of buyers interested there even after such a large gap up overnight. So we'll go through reading the tape in like 3 major segments of the trade. So the first like 2 minutes here will be the market open. So we'll see that it's holding at the top of the range at 14.15. I'm going to go back a sec because I want to highlight these bids at 14.15. So this 14.15 level is going to be really significant for trading off of, and we see this level from pre-market trading. I have these ones with over 100 size on the bid highlighted black and yellow, so you can see if just a lot of bids really start to stack, and we see them here at 14.15. And then I'm going to watch if those decrement or if we hold above, and we do hold above and we step up. So I'm thinking off the open, maybe this 14.15 could be a risk level. We do get below it, but if we can rebid right back up over, then there's still potential that there's buyers and this is a good level. So the market just opened here, so that's why the tape is picking up some speed. So we're under this 14.15, but we're not breaking down, so I'm thinking if we get back over it and I get long 14.16, and so you can see the speed that we pick up. I'm going to go back just like 10 seconds again because it's so quick. So we're going to get over this 14.15 level that we saw all the buyers in the pre-market, and we're just going to move like 20 cents. Right here, 14.16s, and then we get the 20s, mid-20s, 30s into the top of this pre-market range, 35s, good place to take off risk, new high. So you can see just that one price level where we knew there were buyers and they might come back in. We have a drastic pullback there, but we still hold over this 14.15 when we pull back after making a new high. It's a drastic pullback and you have to expect that in opening drives on such volatile names, and to take profits quickly and be scaling out to cover your risk, as this needs to work instantly in your favor. So there you scaled out on the way up, and then you watch this pull back to 14.15, see if it can hold. We never actually even get back down to 14.15. The 20s start holding this time, showing some even more strength to me as we broke over the highs, probably stopped out people. And now we see a deep pullback kind of under that level, and it gets rebid again. And now looks like we're breaking out to the upside, as we couldn't really fail to break down. We're holding over these pre-market levels now. And then we can see major breakout And these are all-time highs for it, so 1415 usually is a good psychological level that people are going to trade off of. So then we can skip ahead a bit to what I would call, so that part was like the shallow pullback and then the upside breakout, so the pullback 1415. Now this is going to be the first pullback after the opening drive breakout, and often a place you can look to add or just reevaluate your position. So we come back to try and test this 1415 psychological level. Can't quite make it, but we've had a big move up, so definitely used a good amount of energy in the stock. So gonna watch how this consolidation pullback is. And it's a pretty shallow pullback. Holds over the 1420s. Does not have a lot of volume on the pullback. This is what you really want to see on an opening drive long pullback. You want to see the consolidation of low volume, so that indicates maybe there's less selling pressure there and maybe just more accumulation. So you can see we get the shallow pullback to the 20s, and if you were to enter off that 1420 level, you're already 20 cents in the money. And so you're going to want to really look for a break through this 1450 here, if it's really strong. Skip ahead a bit, we get a little bit, there we go. So you can see after that shallow pullback, just the wick down on low volume, and it just gets bought right back up and another new high. See some large bids keep flashing on the way up. That offer at 1460 just got really decremented. So maybe going to watch these mid 1460s now. These offers down here, if they can possibly get decremented, probably slip to the 1470s. So we can see those 1460s finally starting to hold. So this is a good place to lighten up some potentially. But then we do get back over and make that new high again. So we've made almost, we've made a little over half an ATR move now. So, but there's a lot of potential for stocks like this to move well more than their ATR in a single move, because like we said, there's all-time highs, there's market sympathy helping it, there's a lot of people underwater now. This doesn't have high institutional ownership, so maybe just more potential for less consistent trends and more volatile movements that we can take advantage of.
Yeah, and another really good sign from when you saw that flush down to 1420 and then that move back up to where it is now at the 1470s, you could see that size on there's just massive size on the bid that was stepping up every cent. And then whenever there's big size on the offer, you could see it was just getting taken out instantly. So that's just another check in your favor when you see the bids stepping up continuously with the same size.
Definitely, especially with them picking up so quickly and the offers all still getting decremented right away. So when it can move up, it can keep stepping up that many prices that quickly. That's a really good indication. So speed of the tape in these opening drives, and speed of even just the times and sales at times and how much is really getting transacted is good to note. And you can see it's still just pushing since this 1420 point, lightening up in this area. Just as I know we're coming into 15, could be a psychological level. Huge offers at the 1490 there. I think that's pretty significant to know you're going to get that push to 15 as we're making these new levels. So I'm thinking if we eat through these offers, then you're going to get a slip up, and you're probably going to want to cover some more, or I'm sorry, not cover, sell some more of your long, as this will be another extension. So these 1490s, and they give out, and then we go another 5 cents. Then yeah, then it's just a matter of seeing if it makes it to 15 or not. And I believe we finally start to get a pullback here. Oh, yeah, we get a wick through 15, and then it kind of breaks back down. So here it is. Saw there was a bunch of offers that flashed to 15, or bids at 15, then gave out. And you can see there was actually some volume on this selling candle as well. maybe giving a new potential change of character from the opening drive, because after these opening drive moves, there is often a deep pullback because this is such an extended move. So many people got caught on the wrong side unexpectedly, and you definitely, since it works so quickly in your favor, you need to be selling into strength rather than trying to as much trade around a core. Okay, and then so now we get our first pullback and we start to consolidate, and we can see we get another kind of breakout level. And then, so the last part of this trade is kind of just seeing how it develops over the morning. And it's nothing too significant. We could just kind of chop around at this level. Because like I was saying, we had such an extended move over an ATR up. We finally saw a change in character with a large selling volume candle. The largest volume candle actually since the open. And then I know now people have more levels to risk off of. Buyers will be stepping in at this 1480, and shorts can start risking off of these 1520s. And I know this can become an area of contention for the stock now, and I'm going to be more hands-off and just watch how the range develops. And you can use these levels that you've figured out throughout the day, and as you come back to 1420, you know, there's a lot of buyers there. We see these 1480s, and you continue to build more ideas maybe on a longer term trend. So yeah, that's pretty much it for NEO. I believe it just fades on the day from there. We'll have the chart. So that's kind of the three parts of the trade. You get the market open, near highs, breakout. After the breakout, it pulls back, shallow pullback, and then the real upside breakout. And then we finally get our consolidation at the top of the range, another push, and then that real change in character indicating the trade may be over. So on the trade chart for that day, this is how the executions looked. You would break by the breakout over this 1420. Yeah, and then you can also enter on the pullback with shallow volume in here. And you just really want to scale out into that strength. So this trade management's built off how I actually executed it. So you can see, like, from trader view, how the executions were. You had that move over 1420, pull back on light volume, consolidation. You can get long there, risking just like a couple cents under 1420. It should work pretty well in your favor, and then you get a nice upwards move.
Let's jump in here. So that pullback, after it has that opening drive on elevated volume and has cleared the levels that you denote, that pull into that 1420, that's really a trade that I would encourage you to think some more about, and taking on some more risk for that particular trade, particularly if you can see it start to turn back up, because then you can really put on a lot more risk. You can turn that definitely into an opening drive continuation, but you can also start to think about that with this trade or with some others as more of a swing trade, or more as more of a not a scalp, not necessarily a trade to hold, but something you don't need to do as much with, something where you can wait to actually see the exit. Maybe you decide that's 1520 is starting to show some resistance, maybe develop some other exits, but you're really in the driver's seat there. You really can find a spot where you can risk a lot more than some of the other trades you mentioned. That really can become a home run trade from that spot right there.
Definitely. Yeah, gaining all that information off the open can all lead to a major trade if you can just react when you notice that major level is held after such a strong open. And like you said, then if it'll start working in your favor so quickly, you can really add in more risk. And this is definitely a trade I am working on, and kind of made a similar short trade today, but short and overstock. Had this really strong pre-market level. It opened just holding below it, and it just kind of got hammered. So, and then watching retests to that level. So this is definitely a trade I'm gonna keep looking into recording tapes, and yeah, I really think this can be a powerful trade, especially if we keep having a market like we do with these low floats today and yesterday. They often have some of the most potential for these major breakouts with shorts underwater and things of that nature. And then I think the main thing to improve would kind of be what Bella was talking about in terms of really seeing the exit. I was scaling out all the way on the way up, but I really should have had some shares on to maybe till I saw this 15-20 level really develop, and that change of character came in, because you never know, these things can just keep running, and with such a good entry price, I want to give myself that chance to capture these crazy risk to reward moves, even if it is only on my last, say, fourth of my shares. I think that is important, to wait until I see the turn, and that's the biggest thing I really try and improve on, because I'm such like a short-term momentum and scalping trader that I often don't like to hold the pullbacks and things like that. So as you can see, as soon as I kind of got that wick high and like my first pullback below 15, that got me fully out. So working on that, really seeing the exit and being patient with the end of my shares to give myself that opportunity for acquiring that information at a good price.
Hey, go ahead and click our subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos that we're producing for you in the trading community. And please take the time to add your feedback in the comments section for what videos you'd like for us to produce next, and what you found helpful from this video. From all of us at SMB, train and trade well.